Namaste, good morning. Today we are going to remember great soul Mahatma Gandhi. He not only was able to acquire the freedom for India by non-violent means, but the message he delivered throughout his life of peace, love, non-violence is ringing still after he has gone for so many years. January 30, 1948 was the black day for the world. One man's or one group's hatred took away the life of this great soul who was preaching love and non-violence of Ahimsa throughout his life. Yesterday was India's Republic Day. It was the 26th January 1950. Of course, India celebrated, but if you think about 1948 time, this was the tragedy. So, today we are not going to talk much about his life because his life, according to him, his life is a message to the humanity. And when he was open to every religion, every prayer, so his prayers used to start with prayers for the different religions. And one of his famous prayers we are going to start with was God's men, Vaishnava. And this poem is in Gujarati, that's where he was from, Gujarat. But it was written by Narsi Mehta, the poet and devotee in the 15th century. And in this poem describes the quality of the God's men or the quality of the great people who relay the message of Almighty, or message of the humanity, of the love, compassion. Every stanza has a meaning to it. So it's in Gujarati, but maybe I will later give you a very quick review of it. And if you know, you can recite with me too. Vaishnava jan to tene kaiye je बीड़ पराई जान रे पर दुखे उपकार करे तोय मन अभिमान आन रे सकल लोक मा सौने वंदे निंदन करे वाच काच मन निश्चल राके धन धन जननी तेनी रे समदृष्टि ने तृष्णा त्यागी परस्त्री जेने मात रे जीव्या तकीय सत्य न बोले परधन नव जाले हाथ रे मोह माया व्यापे नहीं जैने दृढ़ वैराग्य जना मन मारे राम नाम सु ताड़ी लागी सकड़ तीरथ तेना तन मारे છે કામ ક્રોધ નિવાર્યા રે ભણે નર સંયુતનું દર્શન કરતા કુળઈ કોતેર તાર્યા રે વૈષ્ણવ જન તો તેને રે કહીએ જે પીડ પરાઈ જાણે રે. The poet describes who are the God's men. God's men are those who are helping others selflessly without bringing their ego or name or pride. These people are so good, the people are praising them, and they don't do gossiping or they don't talk bad about others. They are in their words, in their actions, they are very pure. Then they are looking at everyone and they don't talk, they don't lie, they do not take away somebody's money, they do not and they are detachments, vairagya, detachments in their mind, and they are not greedy, they are not deceitful, and they have succeeded over the anger and ego and deceit. And poet says, when you have a vision or sight of these people, you become, or you like to become like them, and that kind of an impact. So Gandhiji liked this thing, and if you think about it, Mahatma Gandhiji lived that kind of life throughout. So we are going to talk about Mahatma Gandhiji. I think last October when his birthday, we talked about his legacy, his impact. In today's world, whatever time he lived, whatever time he was in South Africa, England, India, and he gone through the struggle, and he accomplished the results through nonviolence, understanding, and even love of his opponents or enemies. When, on his death, the greatest tribute was given by Dr. Einstein, and he says, Albert Einstein, he really appreciated Gandhi's work on nonviolence and everything. On his death, he says, generation to come will scarce believe that such a one as this ever in flesh and blood walked upon this earth. This is the greatest tribute to man 10,000 miles away, and man of a brown color, man of a different religion, from a scientist, the greatest scientist of his time. Many people, on his death, there was a great procession in New Delhi, and his memories are maintained at Rajpath. It's quite a sight to visit, very simple, but when you go there on their site and you remember his life, this man in 1931, he walked 41 miles on foot, Dandi March. And this man who walked with the 10 people or 15 people, and by the time he reached there at the sea level or sea face, thousands of people have joined. What was the magic? Magic was his pure heart, pure love. He believed in truth. He said truth is God and God is truth. And to realize the truth, Ahimsa, nonviolence, love, was the meaning. Throughout his life, he stuck to the truth, and there are consequences by sticking to the truth. He has suffered a lot, but he did not worry about that. Non-violence, Ahimsa, and look, of course, India received freedom from mighty empire of British. But the aftermath, what happened, he did not like it. Partitioning of India and Pakistan. And that was one of the largest migration of people on both sides. 10 million people. 1 million people died. That was a great price. And he was not rejoicing. He was against the partitioning. When all these riots broke out, he went among the people without worrying about, because people on both sides were kind of against him at that time, or a time of the emotions. But he traveled through the things. I am not afraid about the death. He never afraid about the death. Throughout his life, I think truth, I had talked last time, the truth was his major principle, and love, of course, and the non-violence. And he developed from the childhood those habits, and over the lifetime he practiced them. So we are going to today talk about the so-called 7 social sins. It's not his creation, but he published them. He published them in Young India newspaper on October 22, 1925. Because he was looking for what are the root causes of violence. And friend from Britain sent this 7 without naming in any of his friends. He just published in Young India newspaper in 1925. And since then those things have been published. Lots of commentaries, lots of books have been written about it. But Gandhiji was looking where violence starts. And we will discuss about it, even though it's not his, but it coincides or intermingles with his life, what he has said about the well-being of the majority of the people by non-violence means. With this non-violence campaign, you know very well, people around the world have followed and found the results. Think about Dr. Martin Luther King in this country, civil rights movement. Dr. Martin Luther King just loved his non-violence, satyagraha. Satyagraha word is a Sanskrit word. Satya means truth, agra means force, insistence. So whatever you do with the truth force, the truth, whatever you do. So when we discuss these 7 social sins, his parameter in every truth, every item is truth or principle that has to stand out. And those 7 ills were at that time, those 7 ills are present even today's time. And we will look at the examples and you can discuss with me, because you are going through this life and you see these 7 sins all the time. So let's talk about it. Now, let's look at the history of it. This is not the first time this has been published. In 519 AD, Pope Gregory I, he unveiled a list of 7 deadly sins to his religious folks. What were those? Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. Okay? Now that was for his religious folks, so they do not behave. This was kind of an individual where the vices or negativity, you avoid them. Now these kind of things have been told by many religions. Jain, one of the ancient religions in the world, had a kasai, 4, which was anger, greed, ego, and deceit. Then they had 18, they call it, it's very detailed, 18 pap sthanak. Pap means sin, sthanak means place. But really you can say 18 activities of sin. And what are, I would say, 5 predominant. What are the sin? The number 1, again Jain religion, again the greatest principle of Jain religion, Ahimsa, nonviolence. So right away the one sin is violence. Number 2 is untruth or lie. Number 3 is stealing. 4 is lust. And 5 is hoarding or unnecessary excessive possessions, material possessions in the life. And there are many other more like anger, ego, deceit, greed, attachment, aversions. So on a religious basis, many religions have told the vices, and mostly that applied indirectly to the individuals, and individuals followed to the community or society or group. But our world, from those earliest time of the religion, world has moved further. We have now many corporations, many organizations. So their behavior, so these 7 social sins are how their behavior affects the world. And according to Gandhi, some of this negativity of these people, when we say without, when they do not have those things, it has affected or created passive violence. Not active violence, but the passive violence. That if that thing is not checked properly, that can create conflicts, small battles, or war and violence. And we have seen the results of those things. So what are those things? Politics without principle. Wealth without work. Pleasure without conscience. Knowledge without character. And commerce without morality. And science without humanity. And religion without sacrifice. Also, it was printed as a 7 social sins, or in Hindi they have put down a buraya, or also some people as a 7 evils. But also later, his grandson Arun Gandhi, by the way, 3 months earlier, before Mahatma Gandhi was shot, Arun Gandhi, grandson, his 5th grandson, was living for South Africa. So the grandfather gives him a little chit of the paper And then Chit had these 7 social sins. So Arun Gandhi calls them blunders. 7 blunders, the 7 blunders that human society commits, and that causes all the violence. Arun Gandhi has later added another one, rights without responsibility. He has added one more to the list in his blog. So, we talk about politics without principle. Now, politics, if you define, when you say politics, you always connect with the political parties. But other definition, one or more people or groups force their will on the majority of the people. Or indirectly say the majority force the decision on rest. And principle could be credo, principle could be the mission. But according to Gandhiji, principle means perfection. Total perfection in your nature, where you are dealing with others, you have to have perfection. Perfection to the best to serve whom you are serving. So, if you look at this country's history, fathers of the nations, when they had the Declaration of Independence, they had a principle. And they had the motto. So let's examine, I think, that motto, because this is very important. It hits it. But that's kind of perfection. We'll talk about it. But we have not lived up to that perfection. We hold these truths. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Now let's examine. The fathers Declaration of Independence. Has this country stood up to that? No. It has improved over the years. Whatever I know about it, all men created are equal. Great in principle. In practice, it was not. Women got the voting right only in 1922, or around that time. Just think about that. The blacks received rights much, much later on. And thanks to the civil rights movement of Martin Luther King and voting rights and everything. And still, women got the right. Listen to this. Women got the right, but they do not have equality at the workplace yet. Still, glass ceiling for women exists. This is the wealthiest educated country in the world. So it takes time to get to the perfection. The ideals were set by the fathers of the nations, and still we are struggling. Still this country is struggling to reach to those goals, equality. The politics without principle. So if you think about the history, even we are not allowing all people to vote. We put the principle, where is the principle? We said all are equal. If we have equality, then we have to treat everyone equal. We have to be fair, just in our dealings. But no. The politics without principle. People who are in politics to maintain their ego, they do not care if the millions of people suffer from their actions. We say that we are democratically elected people here, but we are not considering the welfare of all other people. Here Gandhi wrote very well, democracy must in essence therefore mean that the art and science of mobilizing the entire physical, economic, and spiritual resources of all the various sections of the people in the service of the common good of all. Common good of all. So that's the principle. But the politics has become so dirty. We get elect the people. Looking at this country's history, because we are used to this country's history here, every House of Representative who is elected for 2 years, after he gets elected, he or she gets elected, ready to collect the money for the campaign. I mean, we have to face the reality. So we have to find the solution so they do not have to do this thing, because when the money comes, the greed comes, and then you are paying off somebody for something. You are not looking at the common goods of everyone. You got something, attachment behind you. So the politics has become so dirty. Even democratic system is the best system in the world compared to dictatorial or the kingships or tyrant, whoever. But we have to work as a public, has to work to improve on all those things. The politics without principle is not good. Politics is required to carry out the goods and wills of the people for the good of everyone. You cannot take care of the people who elected you only. You have to take care of the people of the entire country, all sections of the society. So that's, you got to work on it. Another one, Gandhiji wrote. The reason I'm going to, Gandhiji wrote, this is a very good one. Because whenever we have feud, we go to the court. We go to the lower court, we go to the appellate court, we go to the Supreme Court. And again, Supreme Court and all these courts are served by humans. And of course, they have a set of rules, constitution, and so on and so forth. But again, indirectly, their biases come into the picture too. So the Gandhiji said that there should be a character. So then we say, there is a higher court. There is a higher court than courts of justice. And this is the court of conscience. It supersedes all other. So Gandhiji has placed so much value to the conscience of each being. When say conscience has to be pure, unselfish, looking for others good and well. You know, in a Hindu literature we have both Jinaya, both Hitaya. So many people we serve for their good or things. Another problem comes when we say equal. But then you see, remember we looked at all those greed, ego, anger, deceit. Then superior ego means superiority complex. Superiority complex creates the intolerance. And that indirectly in political system, intolerance comes those who do not agree with your views or thinking or whatever. There is no desire to understand each other and come up with the solutions which are benefit to the society as a whole. So what did Gandhiji say? Intolerance is itself a form of violence and an obstacle to the growth of a true democratic spirit. The human voice, then he talks about the individual, which we talked about the justices and politicians and everything, ultimate, with listening to all kinds of sides and everything, the ultimate voice has to come within. So Gandhiji said, the human voice can never reach the distance that is covered by the still small voice within. So again, Gandhiji puts lots of emphasis on individual behavior of fairness, justice, for better good. If we want to cultivate a true spirit of democracy, we cannot afford to be intolerant. So the democracy is to accept everyone. You cannot be intolerant to others' needs. So we talked about wealth, we talked about politics without principle. The second thing, these are all interrelated.
Wait, see, I have a question on the last one. So don't you need to be intolerant of violence?
Oh, definitely intolerance of violence. Intolerance means separating out the society or race or gender or the people who look different, something like that. That's the intolerance. Intolerance of religion, intolerance of all that.
Okay, thanks.
Of course, you have to fight against the injustice. No, you cannot be intolerant to that, tolerant to that kind of injustice. No. There are lots of written about Gandhi, what one's duty should be. You got to fight, and that's what his whole life was. Satyagraha, disobedience movement. All those things are fight against the intolerance, fight against the injustice. And for that one, you have to sacrifice. We'll come back to that someplace, religions versus sacrifice and all that, we'll come back to. But closely associated with this first principle, politics, because today, the reason I picked up that one first, because this is going around so much lately, all around the world. So I think principle is very important with the politicians, very important. And we as a citizens, we have to remind these politicians, we cannot be silenced by just voting one day. We got to be constant. If you look at Gandhi's life, he was under British, but he always wrote to the press. Always he wrote to the press. Even when he was in South Africa, when he was in a court, the judge says, you got to remove the turban. He said, that's my national dress, I can't remove it. But his client said, well, but then he walked out and everything. But then he wrote in the papers. And there was a great discussion. So what Gandhiji has done to create the awareness in the fair-minded people that some of these things are not right, we as a citizen have to write to the paper, to the public, to our congressperson, whoever they are, politicians. We have to let them know, and they do listen. And I'm sure you have read some of this news lately, they do listen to the polls. So I suppose indirectly is reflection of the citizens, what they like to see, something like that. But as a citizen, we cannot stay silent. So someplace we come with right or responsibility, what he said. We have right as a citizen to vote, but at the same time we have responsibility. We'll come back to that one later. But the close one, next one to is a commerce without morality. So in other way we can translate business, commerce into business. In those days the word was commerce. And morality, you can say ethics. If you look at, all companies have their mission. All they have big motors and everything. And most of the companies, they do a good job in selling the products and selling their services and so on and so forth. But there are, you may have seen lots of companies, they have cheated the public by wrong advertisements, by wrong products, to make their profit, to serve their shareholders. According to these blunders, that's not right. You have to have ethics. Yes, you have a right to make the profit, but not by cheating, not by wrong promises. And many times you wonder, the large corporation who have served the public well over the years, but once in a while they play with the numbers. The great example was Volkswagen creating the wrong results of the test. So, general public can see many drug companies make the wrong advertisements. Ethics, again, wrong companies, many, charge tremendous amount of money for their drugs. There is argument that, well, they have research costs and they have so and so costs. But if you looked at the statistic, how many percentage of the money they are making over there? So there's a holding, indirectly they have the rights, but they are playing with the lives of the people indirectly. And many people cannot afford it, so on and so forth. The business without ethics or morality is very important in many sense. For many companies, coal companies, they are served very well to the country when we did not know about it, producing the electricity, energy and everything. But when the knowledge has come, that whatever they are producing and the coal is creating is hazardous to the health, not only where they are doing it, but this is all around the world. Because global, we are interdependent on each other. One thing which we do in one place of the corner of the world can affect the entire world, our Mother Earth. The pollution, plastic, yes, come back to the knowledge and come back to the technology or science. Yes, plastic has been great service to the mankind many ways, but there are ills. Plastic is going to create lots of problems to many species in the ocean and everything. So now we are awakening, but we are slowly awakening. Just like this racial tensions and color tensions and in India, Harijan, under-delivery problem, these are all social ills. Governments are trying to improve on that, but it's so slow. So mindset of the people from the childhood, when the kids are in the schools, has to be changed. Then and then. See how the women treatment all over the world has, from centuries, have been done. Still long ways to go for many parts of the world for the women to have the equality, freedom, what they want. But time will come. But again, every citizen, what Gandhi said, you have to make your part. You have to do that. So many ills, That's business with ethics, again business. Even in the business places, the boardrooms are controlled by men, most of the men, very few women. Even parliament, Congress over here, this is the only year where a large number of women have been elected. But not enough yet to reach the equality with the gender. I didn't mean that based on gender they should be elected. Based on their qualification should be elected. Many countries around the world have the women head. One day it will come, this country will have a woman head of the country. But that requires the understanding and mindset of the people. And Gandhiji has written very well, I'll talk about his words about women, about that. But the commerce or business without ethics is no no. Of course they have a right to make the profit, but not on the false advertisements, false contents, and so on and so forth. Other one comes, again these are the ills. When we say blunders, these are the ills of the society, social ills. Indirectly, they are not caught in the eyes of the law. When they are caught, it is kind of a late, or it takes so long before you can improve, but the life goes on. Maybe it's only one is caught. Sometimes even big politicians do a lot of blunders, but they think as long as we are not caught, we are safe. The similar goes in the individuals also. As long as they are not caught, they can do whatever they want to do. But that's individual improvement, you cannot. It's again principle of violence. If you do not, non-violence, I meant to say, or love. If you love yourself, and if you don't want to get hurt, how can you hurt somebody else? As simple as this is the principle. Not by physical action. Gandhiji's non-violence went further. Even the many religions have said that way. Not only physical violence, but you don't violate by words, by your actions, and by your thoughts even. So that's the Gandhiji followed that one and he preached many, many times. Or many religions have said, but that's on an all individual basis. Gandhiji have done this non-violence movement on a collective, mass-scale basis, and many people have followed. Martin Luther King here, Mandela in Africa, and Jan Walesa in Poland. Many, many people have followed. So it is possible. Gandhiji, when atom bomb was exploded in Hiroshima, Gandhiji said that this terrible, terrible thing happened. He says, still the non-violence is the best weapon humankind can find. That's the ultimate answer. The atom bomb or this are not the answer. I'll come back to the science and humanity. Okay, so let's move on to the other one, and then I will open up. Pleasure without conscience. Everyone has a right to have a pleasure, as long as you don't hurt somebody else. Now, the consequences of that. So pleasure has to be innocent, pleasure has to be non-violent. So what has happened? People, in order to have the pleasure, hurt others. I know hunting. Hunting is but what you are doing, by hunting animals, you are getting rid of the pieces of the world. Every creation in this world has a life. They have feelings. They may not be able to talk like a man, or they may not be able to think like man or express like in books, but they have feeling of happiness. They are family. They born their children. They love their children as like man, humankind loves the children. So, hunting, fishing, all these things are, many people, it's a pleasure. But as a conscience is not there. So that's the pleasure without conscience. The pleasures, many, now this is people who think, what is in it for me? Most of the people who have pleasure, and they are looking for temporal pleasures. This pleasure should be innocent. And for that one, what you have to do is sensitivity have to develop. Many parties, many the bosses or many renowned players, renowned artists, they have achieved in their field the greatness. But then they think they have a right to exploit others. And those examples are in most of the field where they are in the power, exploit the women, sexual misconduct. And lately, and that's why the development of the Me Too movement. The women, against the women treatment, people who are at the highest authority of the power in every place. Media, government, cinema, movie industry, even writing. They have used it. And we know those examples. So that's conscience. They did not have conscience, that they do not have the right to exploit these individuals. Exploitation is going on from the eons of days. The question is, we have to improve or purify ourselves. For simple pleasures, people go to drugs, people go to alcohol, people go to sex rings, people go to smoking. Now these all things have not only effect on oneself who are doing it, that they may have temporary pleasure, but they are hurting themselves. At the same time, they are hurting the society. The problems they are causing, society has to suffer. Society has to pay for those costs and everything. So paying those costs are avoiding other areas where those money could have been used. Now this is again integration, business and ethics. These are all business. Alcohol is a business. Drugs are business. There is no ethics in that thing, that they are hurting the humankind and all that thing. So these paradoxical things, even though they are lawful, all they are doing, but they are not, there is no ethics. Whatever the actions, whatever the products they are selling is hurting millions of people. Okay. Now, there are other things too. Slow poisoning. Slow poisoning, which is sugar. It's a very simple thing, right? But somewhere on the line, slow poisoning has increased, sugar mostly. The diabetes has increased all over the world. Again, actions of some company, they are selling, some of the soft drinks have so much sugar. It's all hidden. Unless, again, government puts the regulation and you have to put the label, how much sugar and everything. But the business was opposite. Self-interest, opposite. So let's move on to the other one. I think one was wealth without work. I think that's very important. Wealth without work. Today, many people think that they can have quick rich schemes. They can become rich people. They can hoard it without working. And what are the examples? There are many Ponzi schemes were there. Many people suffered. Many companies declared the bankruptcy. And thousands of people could not get their pension fund. They were out of the money. And other example would be stock market is good because it helps to have the investment for the newer companies. Newer companies are bringing the service and everything, which is good. But there are options where they don't do any work, millions of dollars exchange, millions of dollars those middle people earn on exchanging. Another thing would be betting, sports betting. Millions of dollars in sports without doing any work, money are exchanging. Wealth without work is very much disease. Look at the corporation heads. Corporation head, president or board member, they deserve it because they have developed this industry and everything. But look at their salaries compared to the person at the middle management or lower management or those who are creating this work. How much difference between the higher salary and the lower salary. And that's why what we have created in this country as well as in the world, 1% of the people in this country has 90% of the wealth. Just think about that. We all complain because this wealth amassed. Now wealth has been created by their own endeavors, but then also the governments, parties also help them by creating such a tax structures which help to the people on the top and not at the middle level or even at the lower level. And then people complain that government is giving away the money because there is just so much difference between income levels of the very rich and the poor or middle class, which shows up. If you look at take the average statistic of the middle class or even the lower middle class, they have problems to maintain the health care, maintain for education for the children. Education should be really free. We got so much money which we are wasting in armaments and all these drugs and all these other things. We can have the best health care in the world to take care of it. We can have the best education system in the world have it. But our priorities are controlled by very few groups of the people. Somewhere along the line, mindset, people have to change that mindset, that how can we serve the maximum number of people? Waste, how much waste of the food is, how much hoarding we are doing in various areas. So, wealth without work is a disease. And it's going to affect not only in this country, but all around the world. Even in India. India is one of the, in a way, poorest country. But there are super rich people in India, the billionaires. Now, I have to give a credit to few of the people who are giving away their wealth for common good. I know you know who the people are. But not many. Out of that 1% of what we talked about, amassed wealth, maybe 10% of that 1% would be giving for the common goods of the people. The rest of them, they are passing on to the people. We talked about wealth without work. You know, there was a billionaire, J. Paul Getty. People consider him very cheap person, very not spending money and everything. But when his grandson or son,
the grandson,
yes. He put him to work. He put him to work from the lower level, and you can come up. And there are many corporation presidents or billionaires. They start their children and grandchildren at the lower level. You earn it and earn it. The star of Omaha, what's his name?
Buffett.
Huh?
William Buffett.
Buffett. This guy is a billionaire. He told his son, I'm going to give away. 80% of wealth he's giving away. And he's not putting his name on it. He's giving it to Microsoft, right? Bill Gates. You manage it. And Bill Gates is giving lots of money. So there are people. In India, Hasim Premji, the magnate of IT person.
Infosys?
Yeah. Not Infosys. He's Hasim Premji, his own company. I forgot his name. Anyway. But he is giving lots of money in education. Lots of money. There was a great example, there are two comparisons. Ambani is one of the greatest rich person in India, and the Hasim Premji is a billionaire too. And they had their wedding in their families. And there was a big news about Ambani's wedding, tremendous amount of money spent, and all that. There was not much news about Hasim Premji's grandson getting married. What did they do? They invited world's people because they had a relationship. He said, and it's natural, you're going to bring the gift to the wedding. He says, so whatever you're going to bring, we are going to match with that thing and we are going to donate to the education. So they collected 25 crores in the gift. They matched 25, 50 crores, they give it for the education. Even they already have the education fund, they are giving lots of money for education. And that man, Hasim Premji, lives in a very simplicity. Still he has the old car, he still has an old house. Just like a Omaha guy, Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
Again, Gandhiji has said that many companies, here is another, listen to this. Gandhiji said that if you are doing good in most of the places, but if you are not doing good in some places, that means you are cheating some places, that's not good. That's not good. It has to be 100% straightforwardness. And many companies are doing like that. Oh yeah, we are doing so many things, but they're also, in the back door, they're cheating.
So they're doing it for the PR so they can cheat everybody else. So that's been my experience with Warren Buffett's company.
Yeah. Okay, quickly I'll go and then open up for questions. I'm sure you have lots of things to talk about, and I would think I would be happy to know your views about it. Knowledge without character. Knowledge without character. Sometimes small knowledge and little knowledge is dangerous, but sometimes more knowledge is also dangerous too. And character is this, just right now, this in the world of this internet and news media, the privacy has been a problem with the companies. And then people are misusing, but you all know about it, they are controlling the world by fake information, fake news, and so on and so forth. And they are lying with various things. So there is no character. There is a movement now going. I was listening on NPR the other day, that we should have character training in the schools. Some people will say character is a personal issue. For character, we can have a common set of belief like honesty, compassion, consideration, all those, and all that kind of a thing can be a common set of character building in the schools. And that is lacking. Many social educationists have said, in our education system, the lacking is the character building. Because when these people schooling, they become very good professors or engineers and doctors and everything, but there are fundamental set of values are not there, then we will have all these blunders or evils in the society. So very knowledge people, what good is the knowledge? Knowledge of the atom bomb. Atom, there are many good uses of the atom. Great nuclear energy and everything. But there are a lot of ills about that. So we have both sides of any issue we take. But if you have the character or mindset, good values instilled in these people, then they can set the better example to use whatever the invention they do and so forth for the benefit of the mankind, benefit of the humankind, benefit of the all living beings. So that's the which we didn't touch yet. Okay, religion without sacrifice, or you can say worship without sacrifice. Sometimes we interpret religion means we do the rituals and we have done the religion. Religion means you come to the temple or you come to the church, attend Sunday Mass or go to the mosque or go to so and so forth. And you do the mechanically all these things and then you think that you have done the religion. Sacrifice, when we talk about it, sacrifice is giving yourself, realizing yourself who you are. And you connect with the religion of the tenets. But your purpose of rituals is to purify yourself, realize yourself, understand yourself, and that is the real sacrifice, not the rituals. Ritual could be the first step to get where you are going, at least to get you going. But ultimate your aim of anything you do is know yourself better. You connect yourself, but to connect with the society around you and connect with your ultimate divinity. So that's the purpose of the religion. And at the same time, there are basic standards are set, just like that Pope said some of the seven. Same with the Jainism, Hinduism, Christianity, the set of belief systems, set of ethics, honesty. Those are great. But when those same religion, for example, many religions set up or promoted slavery. That's no, right? Slavery went on in this country. Again, we are coming back to business and ethics. Again, same thing. These are all interwoven. They approved the slavery. Finally, the rules, even though we call it men are equal, all men are equal, but we had that slavery, and finally we got rid of that. But there's still exploitation is going on. Slavery of the children is going on in India. And the Satyarthi Foundation is doing tremendous job for that thing. But still, long way to go. That the greed, that greed factor, greed is the father, or you can say mother of all violence. If you examine the history of humankind, the greed has created the violence all over the world. No separation. So, religion or worship, religions have a great aim to liberate yourself from all the negativities, liberate yourself from the prejudices, and reduce your pride. You become a person who you are. So, I think with that one, I will open up for questions because now we got 15 minutes left. So I think it's a good idea to have a question and answer and discussion among ourselves.
So I think the last point, was it translated from dharma? Because the word dharma and religion are kind of different words.
Yes, correct.
And sometimes at certain level we say dharma and religion are same, but dharma is more like the duties. So as the what are you supposed to do? So the duties is that religion without sacrifice is more associated with dharma without the tyaga. Is that what the meaning was, or was it really meant to be the organization, what we call religion?
In this one, religion would be an organized religion probably.
Okay.
But the religion could be any other religion where there are sets of rules and rituals and so on and so forth. But what I am interpreting, the religion means religions of yourself.
Exactly, that is dharma.
That's the dharma. What your duties are. But not duties only to yourself, to your family, to your community, to your country, or even the Mother Earth. Our duty, the ecological issues. Many people don't consider this a religion. No. It is a religion. Ecology is a religion because you are saving the resources of this world which are depleting at faster rate. So that's why it should be anti-pollution, should not be polluting this world. It comes down to not using or wasting the resources of the world at any level, food level, transportation level, any level, not wasting, because we are limited resources in this universe or even this earth. So these are all our duties. But many times religion says you go to Sunday at the temple, church, or come to the temple or darshan, go around and go home. And then many times people leave the religion at that place rather than in their daily life, how you behave with everyone. Person has to ask, what have I done today not to hurt anybody, or what have I done for the good of the society? Those kind of questions when we get up, we should be asking ourselves, we should be starting our day. How can we do that? So dharma is deeper than rituals.
As you say, I ended up doing the tour yesterday to some students, and one of them asked me, and I had no clues, how do you know what your dharma is? What your, like getting back to the Gita with Arjuna, his dharma was to be a soldier, and so how do you know that?
If you take away the isms, let's take away the isms. First, your dharma or duty is to yourself. Yourself means how you can be physically, mentally, spiritually, can be strong. How you. Okay? So that's yourself. Then all around you, your dharma is not to hurt anyone. Your dharma is to uplift them. Or your dharma is to help them in their need. Okay. So that's dharma. Now you put the ism, that's a whole different thing, but that's the dharma. How we live with, even Christian, love your neighbor. That's exactly the neighbor, that's the neighbor. And neighbor means anybody who needs help. In any way you can help, to your best ability. At the same time, you, now that's where dharma comes. You do not destroy any property, any community, anything. You do not kill anybody, things like that. So at the same time, indirectly, you love everybody. It's a hard thing to do many times, but that's really our dharma, individual dharma or duty or religion is. And then third part is spiritual, that you do not know what is this all creation is all about. And you do not have to put the name, which God or whichever, but there is an energy, creative energy which runs this whole universe. So how do you connect indirectly with that entity, divinity, which is whole world? So then again we talked about how to take care of the rivers and mountains and streets and buildings and all that. You can call it divinity or you can call it anything. But that's where the duty. That can indirectly come service to yourself, and then you have to be physically strong. You cannot be lazy, that sometimes, people have felt that, God will take care of, it's all in God's hands. No. It's in your hand. You have to be. You are responsible, again, this is the religion. You are responsible for your own action, good or bad. And so everybody has to take the responsibility on himself or herself. And that's the religion. Don't put the name isms, any isms. Isms have the outer surfaces, how you do the puja and how you do the Sunday, that. But those are all superficial outward things. But real things are your role with yourself, with your other people and surrounding.
So can I make a comment? So one of the philosophies to the Dharma, I think the highest one is to know who you are, to know your true nature. And scriptures and all the literatures talk about man know thyself. This is not just Eastern philosophy. In the Greek, philosophers have written their big stone, man know thyself. If your first dharma is to know who you are, from that spawns what you do. If you know you are, if you think I'm a poor person, I need money, well, that's what you will do. If you think I'm a soul and I'm the instrument of God or the divine energy, then that's what you will do. And I think that the principle that was called that to live really is to give. It's our role in this universe is to be the instrument of the Creator. That's the highest role, and what you give based on where you are, what the best you can do, and that is we call sacrifice or giving as the highest dharma. So you cannot give it unless you know who you are, if your identity. If you're not connected to the divine energy, you cannot give anything. If you think I only have $10, you would only give that much. That's the maximum you can give. If you're connected to divinity, you can give infinite amount. So serving others, all of those principles that Dr. Ramji talked about, kind of comes from that highest principle, who you are. So I think that begins everything. And to know that, that's why we meditate, to know.
Let me quote Bhagavan Mahavir. We as a human have received so much from others. Why not share with others what you got? Now that applies not to material things, but the environment. Just forgetting about all the wealth, how much lucky we are that we have this good air, sun, water, and all those things. Well, quote unquote. So, how can we spoil what we have in abundance, which is no discrimination by these elements to any place in the world? Sun, air, rain, all that thing is nature's thing. So it is our duty to take care of them. Also, according to the Buddhist thing, we are trustees. We are trustees of whatever we got. So trustees, the name was a trust, you fiduciary element to preserve the elements and treasures of the world, and they are used justifiably and not spoiled. So I think major religion can come out again, giving, sharing, caring, compassion, all these things, elements are there. Well, thank you again for attending, and on January 30th or any time you can think about this great Mahatma, what his legacy was, and see what you can put in your life and practice. And he had said, sometimes people think in his oath that that he was a great man, you can't become like that and things like that. But he says, I have not the shadow of a doubt that any man or woman can achieve what I have if he or she would make the same effort and cultivate the same hope and faith. And we know from his life, in a way he was a very ordinary man, student. He was not a scientist, he was not a rich man, he did not hold any post, but still with his truth and non-violence, the message he gave to the world, he is larger than life. And he's saying that anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. With willpower, determination.
Well, I want to say, Dr. Ramji, I've seen you living that life, so thank you for being message through your own life also. You have been living that life in Minnesota and giving that message to all of us. You have sacrificed your life for the community. So we have seen you as also a role model. And I know you look at Gandhiji as role model, so but thank you for being that living example of how to live and how to give to community. And so we have been grateful and thank you to you and for your wonderful insight to this.
Well, thank you for your kind words, but I am not doing anything or any sacrifice. Only thing I am doing, I am just paying back. Paying back the debt of the society over the years. So it's just giving back. Nothing, just paying back. So nothing doing new or novelty or big. It's just settling the account.
That is your humility. Thank you for teaching that also.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on this cold winter day. Yeah, thanks.